That's loud. Maybe too bright. There we go. Enough playing with the things. Hello and welcome back. Here, let me just turn this a little bit here so that the sun doesn't drown out the image. So something you don't hear talked about very often is your worldview. This came into my mind and I just couldn't get the idea out that I should make a video about it, because I could see the importance of how it affects us in our everyday lives in terms of your automatism, how you will react when certain situations come your way, how you're going to face them. How could you expect yourself to react based on how you see things? That's what I mean when I say worldview. So let's say, for example, your worldview, and you have the way you see politics, the way you see parenting, the way you see owning pets, and everything of those things. Let's say you see them all negative. Ugh. And let's say you have a few other things. And most people in their worldview get to a certain point where they're, they that's what they can handle in there. And let's say you have 8 things in here, and out of the 8, let's say 6 are really ugh. Well, when you're faced with situations or when you turn inwards, oftentimes you're met with the 6 negative things and the 2 right things. And we all know how when there's a negative thing around, it tends to grab your attention a lot more than a positive thing. You're not going to talk about the rainbow you saw yesterday, but you'll talk about the car accident that you saw on the way, on that highway, right? During, the rainbow was there and bam, there was a car accident. You're like, oh shit! You see what I'm saying? And that'll stick around a lot longer. Negative things stick. So if you have a worldview of like that is predominantly negative, and you then see the world against you, and you're always ready to fight. So let me dive a little bit deeper here into the worldview. So let's say you still look at those 6 things out of the 8. It doesn't matter what they are. You can replace them with whatever it is you have in your life. You replace them with whatever. So 6 out of the 8. Okay, the 6 out of the 8, if you go into each individually and start to look at them a little bit more honestly, without opinion, you start to kind of balance each out. You start to see, okay, well, maybe I was wrong about, the 10 things I hate about this one thing. Maybe there's, okay, well, I was wrong about that one thing. And then the second thing, you start looking at each, component of it, and then you start to notice that it's not quite as bad as you thought. And if you start to do that with all the 6 things, it completely changed your whole worldview. All of a sudden, you're less tense about the world, and when you're faced with situations, and just generally overall, the feeling inside of you is not so tense. Your inner, how much you hate the worldness or love the worldness, is changed. Now, you can do the opposite with that. Let's say we'll stick with the same numbers for simplicity's sake. The 6 things you love about the world and the 2 things you hate. Well, the 2 things that you hate, a person that has 6 they really love, the 2 things they really hate will really nag at them, and they'll just push the 6 things they love, on most people. We kind of always know those people. Why can't those people live like this? The way they think everything should be. And those people, oftentimes you call them airy-fairy. They're a little bit, they don't want to see the evils of the world, so they kind of cocoon themselves. Both are just as kind of diluted. There's not one side better than the other. Okay, keep that in mind. If it seems like I'm triggering you, it's not that. I'm just pointing out the 2 extremes. So you have the one extreme, and then the other extreme, which I'm talking about now, is where you don't see enough, so you lose the balance of reality, and you kind of think everything should be all good and goody. So that's a reality that for people when they go on their spiritual journey, they can kind of get too much in that and say, "Oh, the world is all perfect." Well, it's not necessarily about that. Then you lose touch with, a lot of things. I want to cut myself before I don't want to go into detail with anything because it ruins the point of this video. The worldview you have, if you see everything very positive all the time, then you might not understand and have less compassion over the things that are bad in the world, you might see. And the opposite is true. If you see everything as evil and everything only a little bit of good, then you kind of feel like you need to attack everything. You're afraid of the world, kind of suppressed, right? So if you kind of balance your worldview off with a little bit more of a realistic understanding of the aspects, each of them, then you start to feel you really understand more, and you're not against one way or the other, when it comes to how you see the world, your worldview, because that affects people predominantly. If you were raised in a world where the way you see the world, war everywhere, you gotta fight to win and all this stuff, if that's how you see the world, then it changes you. If you were raised in a time where the U.S. has won and we just that again, it changes you. You walk differently. Do you know what I'm saying? So you can't. When you look at your worldview, it's good to have a realistic expectation or a realistic understanding of certain events, at least enough that within you can see a more balanced view of it, so that you don't become triggered by your inner fears, which overtake you oftentimes, all of us, and make you act irrationally in a way that you wouldn't really like to act. And that's just really the thing. We have this good and bad within us, and the whole spiritual journey is really revealing those triggers within us and working through them so that they don't dominate our lives. So having a good worldview really helps to kind of maintain a little bit more of you're not going to be an extremist on either end. You're not going to be a little crazy on one side or the other. And crazy is losing touch with reality, right? That's kind of, you could determine it, you could define it in that simple terms. So the more you are rooted in that each thing has positive and negative, and you have to come to terms with that. That's the whole journey, right? Like, then you see the world more. Oh, it's not as good or it's not as bad, and you can learn to let go of things. So that's really the bread and butter that wanted to through me in this video. So wherever you are around the world, whatever time it is that you're watching this video, and to all the new subscribers, thank you so much. I've seen steady growth on this channel, and I am amazed. I had been not as active for a while, and I can't believe the numbers just steadily. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace.